Welcome to Celebrate Aging. I'm Vicki Marthaler, your hostess here today on the Ecumen Detroit Lakes campus. And on Ecumen Detroit Lakes campus, as you know, we have a nursing home named Emmanuel, we've got the Madison Apartments, and we have the Lamplighter Apartments. And that's where I am right now this moment, up in their beautiful dining room. And I am sharing with them a winter scene. I have lighted houses that I have collected for over 20 years, and I have set them up in the dining room for the month of December and January as one way to celebrate this beautiful season. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about these lighted houses, and I'd also like to share with you some of the memories I'm hearing from the different residents as I spent a day and a half putting them up. And they were all a part of that, and the memories were beginning and stories started. And what a great day we had just in the setting up. And now as the houses are here on display, and as the residents and staff and families come and just see what it's all about, it's one way that we celebrate our lives by remembering these wondrous stories. And I'd like to share my story on how all of this began so many years ago. In fact, I've been collecting for over 20 years, and it all began with a lighted schoolhouse. I'm one of those that didn't go to college until I was 35 years old. And so when I graduated from college, my good friend Pam, I graduated with a degree in education. She presented me with this little lighted house, and it's a school. And I love lights. I have many different little lights around my house, and I just fell in love with it. And that began the collection. This isn't just a certain, like, Department 56 collection. This house means something, or this building means something to me, so I'm going to have it and put it in my collection. And so the little school began, and as you can see, I built a scene of children, because you can't have a school without children. And so many of the residents, too, have shared stories about attending school, oftentimes a one-room schoolhouse. And, of course, you had to make sure that there was firewood for the stove. And the teacher, many of them were teachers, actually, in little one-room schoolhouse. It was their job to get there early, get the fire going, and get it warmed up, and to even have water handy. And, oh, the stories are rich and many. And so we have children here. We've got the swing. Of course, we've got hockey players. We've got children making. And it was just last year that we had residents out in the snow actually making snow angels. So that's something that isn't just limited to children like age 10 and under. You can be 95 and be that child too, and making snow angels. And so we remembered that. And then we have a skating pond. And of course, here in Detroit Lakes, we are so blessed with skating ponds in our city, but of course we're by the lake as well, and so many stories about skating and skiing, and these little kids are making a snowman, and there were stories about that as well. Then I built some of just the regular houses around, because it's a neighborhood, and the stories now the sliding hill is really fun. Here in Detroit Lakes, over by the Boys and Girls Club, we have a great sliding hill. But many of our residents, too, remembered that they would take, if they had a sled or toboggan, up the hill they would go and spend many, many hours outside with little cold noses and, and their mittens and hats and gloves. So this was a great way to start, and so many of the stories come from just looking and reflecting and remembering. Well, then as we move into this scene, we get to the downtown and all the different stores. So we have stores, and of course shopping is a big part of Christmas. And this little one is the post office. And as my kids grew up and moved away, the post office and I have become very good friends, doing a lot of mailing back and forth. And we have one resident who was a mail carrier. So many stories about delivering the mail and doing the route day in and day out. Wonderful, wonderful stories about that. And of course, winter has its own special challenges when you're delivering the mail. We had one lady was a postmistress in a little town, and when they would, she talked about how lefse would get sent, that they would people in town were good at making lefse, and they'd want to send it to someone. And so they'd bring it. They knew when the truck would come to pick up the mail at the little post office. And so they'd bring the lefse right before then and say, now make sure it gets on the truck or tuck it in the back where it's kind of cool. And that lefse would get where it needed to go, and it would still be as yummy as when it left that little town. So many good stories as we look at the different buildings. We have a beauty shop. I bought that for my friend who bought me the schoolhouse because she's a beautician, and a jewelry store because, of course, I have a son who's a jeweler. And then we have the Corner Cafe. I know my friends on our birthdays, we always go out and have lunch, so that's celebrating the gift of friendship. I have a son named Tony who loves pizza, and look at there's a pizza shop, and it's Tony's Pizza Shop. So that was a good buy for me. And as we walk down, we see here's workers. I tried to make the road with a missing piece, like they're fixing the road. And my husband, of course, was a mechanic for Becker County Highway Department for many years, and that's kind of to honor all the work that he did. So as we walk down the city and look at all the different stores, here's a piano store. You know, I play the piano, and my boys had a paper route, so we've got the Village News here and then the Paper Boy selling papers. And this little park area in the front is reminiscent of places that we can gather in our city and decorate for the holidays. And then right in the corner, we have a ski mountain and a skate and ski shop. My son Tony loves to ski, and so we had that. And one year, our son Andy had bought a snowmobile, and he managed to have an accident and break his leg. And so, if you can, but here's a little person on crutches with a broken leg. So of course, I had to have him, and not only him, but here is the mother taking a picture. And of course, every mother, I'm very good at taking pictures, so we had to have that as well. My friend, another friend of mine, Pat, bought me the drive-in theater. Oh my gosh, do we have memories of drive-in theaters on summer nights where we would drive in the car and put the little speaker in the window. And this one, of course, is playing White Christmas, which is probably the best Christmas movie of all. Then as we leave the city, we come here into more of the country area. And we have a blacksmith shop. I grew up in Sabin, Minnesota, and they really did have a blacksmith shop when I was a little girl. And I remember that very clearly, how the blacksmith himself wore the little cap, and it was always hot and making lots of noise out of that shop. And as we walk here, here's a little bookmobile. Oh my gosh, I remember the bookmobile came to Sabin in the summertime, and we could still check out books and read. And as we get closer to this area, there's a little bed and breakfast, and there's a Home Depot, because the Home Depot's getting a little bit farther out of town, but I think we spent most of our savings there helping our son get his new home ready for all of his projects. And as we get to the end, we have a farm scene. And my husband grew up on the farm. My grandparents lived on farms. And there's so many memories tied with growing up on the farm and the animals. We have a father here who's splitting wood. And I would say many, many people know what it's like to split wood, especially in this area, and having a fireplace or even heating their house. This is probably one of my favorite pieces. And it is farmer driving his tractor, and he's pulling a little hay wagon, and there's children, and they're singing. There is nothing like a hayride, and especially in the wintertime, and especially during this season. And so we've had many, many good stories being told about this. You're invited if you want to come up and look yourself at this winter village. It's here up at Lamplighter, a manor dining room that's on the second floor. It is a secured building. You'd have to be asked to be allowed in, but I know the residents would love to show you, and you probably have some stories of your own to share. And that's what this season is about, being with family and friends, sharing your stories of life, celebrating the life that you have and the life that will even yet be. So this is my gift to Ecumen Detroit Lakes this Christmas season, and it's my gift to you. I pray that your memories will be rich and full, that you'll share your stories one with another and celebrate the season. Merry Christmas.